Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal, where we invite you to explore the heart and soul of our company, Kiwi Brothers Trucking. Through engaging storytelling, insightful market updates, and vibrant energy, our podcast reflects our culture, values, and achievements. Whether you're a team member or industry enthusiast, join us to build connections, foster growth, and inspire excellence. Discover why we're more than just a company. We're a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those aspiring to be part of something extraordinary. The pre-trip is complete and engines ready. We're set to hit the road on the Keep Trucking Personal podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. My name is Tyler Kiwi, and I am currently in Duluth recording this episode, so I'm excited for that. There's a first for my Duluth recording, and I have Holly with our road service team with us. Welcome, Holly.
Hey, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you because last week we got to talk with Michael, and he had a bunch of tips and tricks just for the fleet side of the world, but his is high level. You actually execute on that. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a bunch of information, I'm sure, that we're going to be able to share with drivers. But before we get to that, I want to get to know more about you. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do, how you got into trucking, because there's some special things I know you have specifically on your license that I'd like to hear about too.
Yeah. So I guess I've been with Kiwi now for a few years. I guess just kind of a background for me. I have 3 kids and a husband. I was originally first in like the healthcare field and the veterinarian world. And then my husband and I decided to have our last baby. So after that, we decided that I would stay home, raise our kids for a few years. And then after that, it was kind of, all right, my youngest is grown enough. What am I going to do? Yeah. I wasn't very fulfilled in, my other careers. I knew there was something more deeper and more exciting for me that I wanted to kind of explore. And it's kind of funny how it came up. I was talking with my husband. I was like, I really wouldn't mind driving. I like driving, just, like my personal car, going on like road trips and things like that. It's funny how your phones listen. Yeah. Because it popped up on Facebook, actually, how Lake Superior College here in Duluth has your trucking school, your Class A trucking school. So I enrolled for that. And
so like you didn't even think about trucking prior to like some ads popping up and you're like, oh, here we go. Or were you kind of already possibly leading towards that?
I think it was something that was kind of always in the back of my mind. My grandfather, he used to drive dump truck when I was a little girl. So I always thought that it was like a really cool thing. He'd bring me along with him and we'd go to like gravel pits and stuff. So I'd spend the day with him. So it was always something that I kind of like got familiar with, but I didn't get familiar with like, a semi truck. I mean, it's a little bit different. So that was kind of like the conversation I was having with my husband, I was like, that would be an interesting thing. So I'd say my trucking story is a lot different maybe than most. So I got enrolled in the truck driving school and it was kind of off to the races after that. I loved it. I mean, the moment they let me start driving, I was like, this is it. You're passionate about. I love it. So completed that. And after school, sometimes it's hard to get into a company without any experience. So I did some roll-off work locally here and did that for a little bit. And then I worked for the state of Minnesota for a little while.
And were you plowing? Did you get to plow snow?
I didn't get to plow snow, that's originally why I started with this state because, you need to have your Class A license required for that too. So I think one thing I never really registered of how time consuming or how long your days can be.
Especially in the snow.
Yeah. With snow plowing, I mean, it's a lot of sporadic hours. things like that. And with my family, that's not something that would work out.
Yeah.
So my husband has a very sporadic work schedule too. So out of the both of us, one of us needed to be more present for our kids. And for me, I love being a mom and being present for my kids. So I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. What's next? I know that I still want to stay within the trucking industry because that's what I went to school for. That's what I've found that my passion was in. And lo and behold, Kiwi Bros, they had an ad posted for it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I applied right away. And then I got to meet with Michael in the interview, and that's how my love for trucking really just kind of transformed from there. I got on here, and I am constantly learning every day, and I'm staying in the industry that I really found it kind of a passion for.
Yeah, well, for sure. And we'll get to more about your day to day, but we need more women in the trucking industry, and for you to have your Class A and be equipped on the fleet side of the world now, knowing the mechanical in depth, right, and repairs, and it's just amazing that and you have a little experience when you were younger, but it wasn't like that path was fully paved for you. You already had a different career choice and then pivoted and went into getting your Class A. What was it like? So you had been around dump trucks and stuff before. It's been inside the cab and all that. But when it came to the schooling, can you tell us how that was? Because my schooling was much more get in the truck and figure it out. Back that truck up until you can stay. Don't come in until it's in the parking spot. And in 2 days, I figured it out. I was outside and no trucks around me to hit. So I could build confidence. But was it intimidating? Kind of coming into this, I've never driven a truck and I'm coming here to now drive truck.
Yeah, it was just the first day walking into the classroom. Of course, we had, some bookwork stuff to do, but the first day walking in, there was me and one other woman in the class, and the rest were males. I mean, there's 10 of us, so 8 of them were males. So, and my instructors were males as well. So I'm like, well, I really need to prove myself for one, that I can do this and have confidence and stuff. And so once we got into the truck, they really push you to learn quick and know what you're doing because they want to see you succeed on passing your road exam test.
So how long was the class?
Altogether, so you have to do some bookwork, online stuff for about a month. But in the truck, you're probably driving for maybe a month and a half.
So within 8 weeks, roughly, you were pretty confident, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything more than 6 weeks of driving. Probably it could have been a little less than that. I mean, this was years ago, so can't quite remember. But
I mean, it's pretty inspirational though, to be able to get determined and go right after it. What advice do you have, not only for other women that are on the fence of is this the right industry for me, but really anyone that's younger, you're 20, you're getting ready to turn 21 and you have a passion for traveling, driving like you did. Just what kind of advice would you give somebody like that?
Confidence is key, really. If you're going to really take a 360 maneuver in your life, kind of how I did, you really want to have that confidence and know to yourself, you can do this. You put your mind to it, you can succeed at it. Now it's going to come with some really, deep valleys of, I can't do this, or this is really hard. But just having that confidence and knowing that you yourself can do it too, as
you can put your mind to it and be.
Exactly. I mean, it is a very male dominated industry. It is, but I don't look at myself any different than, a male driver. I feel I could get up there and do it too, but at the same time, it does take practice. You have to learn the ins and outs of things, and then, of course, having that confidence to really just put your mind to it.
Go through with it, show up.
Yeah,
so did you have any mentors that you talked to, or were you truly outside of being young to just focus on the class, or did you have people you were calling wow, this is intimidating. How do I do this, or no?
No.
Wow. So you were truly
I was in it.
Confidence was key there. I have to believe in yourself that I'm going to do this. And
it was, I'm the first one in my family that,
as a Class A can drive. And it's interesting now when you go down the road in your normal car, right? And you see all these trucks passing. For you, you're looking at them like, I can get in that and go. I can drive that right now. Like there's nothing stopping me from getting in any of those. And that's kind of another confidence booster that many people don't realize how it's not hard to get your license. Like you said, you have to just be disciplined and focus on it.
Yep.
It's just scary because you're used to a small 12-foot car, a 16-foot, whatever it is. And you go into a 75-foot vehicle with 8.5-foot wide mirrors. Like, you feel really big out of nowhere.
It's intimidating. It really is intimidating, especially during schooling. I mean, the instructor was very persistent on wanting everybody to do well.
Yeah.
So you're going to get it and you're going to get it right now. So,
and I think probably a lot of it is like, you have to overcome that, get in the truck. Like some of it's even at that level, just like how I learned is just get in the truck, and whether you move 10 feet today and just move a little bit, but it's there, you can do it. And they gave confidence in you themselves.
Absolutely. I think the first time we got out and actually drove on the road, we stopped and I got out and I looked at my instructor and I was like, I almost feel like I've just blacked out. Like that was so crazy. Cause I mean, we learned in a manual, so I'm not like restricted at all.
Yeah,
so
you're full blown, whatever you want to drive.
It was wild, but it's really cool. I'm really excited to have this career path. I mean, it's not something I might have imagined for myself, but I wouldn't really choose anything else. Well,
and I think it's interesting because unless you're around it, you don't really realize how big the industry is and how many different, spider webs all over the place from the fleet side of the world, which is trying to keep trucks running. And some of it is out of our control, right? Like it's technology, wiring, like things, it's not as mechanical as like, we'll pull over and we'll change this turbo and you're back on the road. It seems like a lot of the problems we deal with are kind of out of our control in a sense, right?
It can be, absolutely.
Yeah. And it being just a normal pedestrian bystander, like you don't realize what the industry is. And that's a great story. And I hope anyone that listens can be like, hey, this is the nudge I needed. Like I'm going to call Holly and get her advice so she can help push me through. So have you been able to bring any of your kids in a truck or anything like that?
I have not.
So my first time was just a few weeks ago. Obviously, I don't drive every day, so I don't have that everyday opportunity, but I did on a weekend, and it was interesting to bring Jax and Austin. So I brought one there, and I brought the other one back, so they both got to ride, and it was fun. They're airing their seat all the way up as high as they could go, and they're waving to every single. It reminded me when I was a kid, waving to every single car they saw, and acting like they could see all the way into the parking lot. They just felt really big and smiles the whole way. And it was interesting just to check that box for me, because that's what I looked forward to every summer when I was a kid, was getting in a truck and riding. And like you said, your grandpa, for me, it was my uncles, my dad. And in the summer when school was out, when I was too young to work in the shop, I would go for a week or two with different uncles. So it was almost like a break for my parents. Like, hey, he's going with other family, but it was for me an opportunity to get in a truck and just soak it up, especially in like the logging world. My uncle let me get up there and run log load. It was like being a kid. Like, I feel like the adults now, the reason they stick in some of these applications is like they get to feel like a kid again. They get to run machinery and
absolutely.
And it was, so that's an awesome story. And I thank you for sharing that. So moving into, you've changed career paths. You're kind of on the other side of the lens from being the driver to now helping drivers. What was that change like?
It was a big change, but it was a good change because I can learn more of the mechanic side of the world, not only knowing how to drive, but also learning the operations of the trucks and the operations of, just trucking in general. Like you mentioned, it is such a wide range of avenues that you can go, but it's been rewarding, honestly.
Does it help? We talked about confidence. So moving into this side of it, and I think a big challenge in the industry is on the office side, drivers see a lot of people that do not have their Class A. And sometimes they may not be confident in the answer that they're getting from the other person on their side of the phone. But you having your Class A, been on the road, understand what it takes to even get there. Does it give you a different confidence on the phone when a driver calls in, hey, I've had this issue? You feel confident to handle that than maybe somebody that didn't have that Class A experience?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I've never just openly disclosed maybe to our drivers, that, hey, I've driven, or, like, I can do it too type mentality, because, I'm there to help them.
Yeah.
And I want to help fix the problem really for their breakdown. So
I'm going to say that it probably does, even if it's not confidence that you're measuring, like you're not telling them, you can picture what the situation is easier than somebody that maybe hasn't driven, right?
Yes.
So if whether it's a steer tire or a brake chamber, or there's something in the cab isn't working, you're not one-upping somebody, right? Like, I've been out there, I've driven this truck or that trailer, I know what's going on. You're more like conceptualizing, visualizing what the problem is to help speed up that repair.
Yes, and that does help. I will say, knowing the mechanics of where things are located absolutely helps me to be able to help the driver, and the repair process too, where the brake chamber, slack adjuster, things like that. Or
yeah, those are things that are hard to learn, like right off somebody walking in, if they don't have somebody if they're not sitting next to you who has that experience, those type of fundamentals of a truck take time to learn.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess you've accelerated that process, and you almost know the tolerances, right? Like, this is legal or this isn't legal. Mm-hmm. Send the pictures, and when it needs to be repaired right away, or when it can wait until it needs to go to a shop, just based on some of your experience.
Absolutely. My experience, what I learned and was literally integrated into my brain from schooling, because you have to know so much to pass your exam. You need to know the ins and outs of, what is in service, what is not, where the parts are located. So I think anybody coming in that might be wanting to work in, breakdowns like this, definitely having some knowledge is so helpful. Mm-hmm. Just because it can help speed up repairs, and it does help with like confidence of knowing, talking to the driver, that we do know a little something about something, so we can help you out.
And in your case, like, you're able to drive. It's not that, it's not like I said, there's a stigma, and we're here to combat that, right? We want drivers to know that we're here to help them, not just point and call shots, right? Like, and having your experience helps that tremendously. And when we spoke with Michael, a lot of his advice, and I'm sure this will segue right into yours, was pictures, right? Like the documentation, and his side was a little bit higher, I think, than maybe where you're like trying to fix it quick. His is like, can I warranty this? Can I get this to the next level? So maybe we can get a root cause, like, oh, we have a batch of bad tires, or these tires are not the right, a litany of reasons. But from your side of the standpoint, now that we're here, right, with the breakdown, driver, what doesn't matter what it is, he calls in. What's the fastest process that helps you diagnose, get this driver repaired so he can get back on the road? Because at the end of the day, like you said, uptime is our goal. Mm-hmm. If we can keep you rolling, and we can keep you out of a shop, or finding the right shop, or diagnosing the problem properly, which is sometimes the challenge. Yep. Like, there's a check engine light with a J259 code, like, that doesn't tell us all a lot.
Right.
What is your advice to that?
Well, when we're getting our phone calls in, what are the symptoms? Really, what is happening? What's going on? If it's just a tire, send in your picture. Let's make sure, kind of how Michael talked about, sending in the picture and making sure we have the correct tire size. Or I say this during orientation when I'm talking to new drivers, when you're sending in a picture, send in a picture of what the problem is. Sometimes, just to comprehend maybe what the driver's trying to tell us, we might not be able to understand the same way. Mm-hmm. So sending in the picture of what is broken, we can look at it together and then really help diagnose or help get the repair done.
And help choose the right repair facility, or can you make it 2 miles up the road to this exit versus sitting on this, because you guys are also having to think like that safety level. You're in the middle of the interstate. Can you get off the interstate? Can you move the truck? Like, it's almost like it's like a safety first, then fleet, right? Like, where are you at? Are you safe? Do we need to get a tow truck? Like, or can we wait for a service truck? Can we work through this? When to call a tow truck versus a repair truck, right? Like, you have to, because it's not only the fastest response for the driver. We're also trying to, just like any industry, right? Is this the right economic way to go about it?
Yep.
And there's so many different levers to go through. And then I just think, because you guys also help on the side of cargo issues, right?
Yep.
Somebody's load isn't positioned right. Somebody's, not illegal in this state, but they're not loaded properly for this state. And you're working through those configurations, trying to set up who can fix it the fastest, because nothing seems to go like a snap of fingers. So there's a lot of questions that go in to find the right.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to it. And I think that's kind of what makes it fun and exciting, because once we pick up that phone and we take that phone call, it's go time. My team and I, we really push to try and get the drivers rolling as fast as possible. But like you mentioned, there is, the economic side of things. There is maybe warranty things that we need to worry about too. So, I mean, on our side, as we're working to get them repaired, there is a lot of variables that we have to go through and think about too. So it's, just ensuring, like you mentioned, that they're safe, we're in a safe location, and then what our next step is. So
kind of a lot of moving pieces.
It is. And I love it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it, is because you're always busy doing something. But then at the same time, once everything's executed how it should go, which sometimes maybe it doesn't go how it is, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
It really
You're back up
is.
on the road. Let's get going.
Yeah.
And building those relationships. It's funny because everything is about relationships still. And there's certain service centers or repair facilities that you maybe use frequently that help get you in faster than, maybe they prioritize Holly over this other person because they know you're consistent and you show up, and what you say is legit. There's a lot in that whole arena of everything. So when you speak to a new driver in our orientation, why don't you just tell us a little bit what you tell them?
Well, I like to start off with just how we kind of operate in fleet. And I really like to emphasize on the fact that there is always someone there for them, whether that's after hours or during the day. I mean, we always have someone available for them if they have, emergencies or breakdowns and things like that. And then just going over, standard equipment that's equipped on our trucks and making sure that they're doing their daily inspections, because that is the one thing that I really push on and like to preach about to them is doing your inspections, just so if we can prevent a breakdown for them during the day or even at night, I mean, the better. You're not going to be wasting unnecessary time. You're not going to be losing out on money. And, if you can report it right away and we can get it fixed right away.
Yeah.
So
uptime is our goal, right?
Uptime is our goal. And same for the drivers. They always want to be moving and stuff. So if you can really do, your daily inspections 3 times a day would be awesome. But, morning and night. We
obviously are in July now. When we look back at June, we've really put an emphasis on our express bay. And June was the largest unit count we've ever had through our express bay. And so while it's like we're celebrating that, we see how much opportunity for the good. We're catching things that, whether it's a little cut here that you can't see and it doesn't show up till it's flat and you're like, it's too late. Or the tire that's low being aired out before it leaves, or that light that when you're trying to leave at 3 a.m, that is out, we're fixing it now. And going through and it's essentially like a heavy walk around and checking air pressures. There's gains in MPG that we're seeing, and that is an opportunity for a driver to make more money. So if their MPG is higher, they earn more money.
Yep.
How do you get that? You do a quality, what we go through, run through our express bay and check the air pressures, check that the tires are matched properly, check that they're not out of service, like all of the little things. And so there's a way for them to earn money. When they're not broke down, they're not losing money by sitting and waiting. More miles equals more money for a driver. Like everything constitutes around moving and being and consistently moving. So your team is combating that all the time. You guys are like preparing to fight off the flu, right? Like, we do not want this to happen. So make sure you stay healthy, and in near terms, healthy is hit those tires, walk around. When you stop, get that full loop around the truck so we can make sure that you're compliant. Because when you go into a scale and you get stopped for something, like, that's where a lot of time gets eaten up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because nothing, you don't get to leave. You're buckled in. They're holding you there.
Yep, you're in it.
And then, like you said, then it turns into kind of crisis management. Like you said, how fast can we get you repaired or fixed or shifted, whatever needs to be done. And it's no fun for anybody. It's a black eye on the drivers. See us. Everything about it makes it challenging. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited about the Express Bay. They've set a goal for July to beat June's unit count. And I think they're going to continue to set that. I don't know where their ceiling's going to be, but we've just in that high month of June, the unit count, we've noticed tremendous gains everywhere else. And like I said, whether it's the driver moving or just MPG, it's showing up.
Yep. And we see it fleet side. Absolutely. I mean, which is good for us because there's less breakdowns. Yeah. Because we're catching it all when they come through the Express Bay. So what better time than, get routed up to Duluth, get it in the Express Bay here. And
those are the times where we catch, because things happen, right? Like you catch that, hey, this sticker needs to be replaced, or, can we upgrade this? Like we have a new piece to put on here, or it seems like that extra time for the shop to walk through it, we find additional things above and beyond just that, the exterior side of the truck. And
it's so helpful to have this option for our drivers and for the equipment, because like you mentioned, we're staying on top of it and catching things before. And that kind of rolls into how Michael's doing a great job at, having this maintenance program that we're doing. And so we're changing things out before they even break. Yeah. I mean, we were going through, we had a batch of step deck trailers with their airbags blowing. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, well, we have a theme here. We know someone's here in Duluth that has a step deck. Let's get you through the Express Bay. Let's get it looked at, because I'll tell you, airbag on a step deck is no fun to find out on the road. Yeah. And it can be downtime because sometimes the techs don't know out on the road how to properly install one of those. So if we can catch it and we're starting to see a theme and we know people are here, let's get them through there and make sure that they're equipped for the road just to keep moving.
Well, and I know Sean Porter would love to hear you talk about pre-trips because he's the master at it.
Yeah.
Like we could go on and on about that. Like if you hear air hissing, your airbag may not be blown yet, but if we catch it before it's blown, you can just, to your point, that's how much time is saved. I guess from our perspective, me and you, the advice to a driver right now is like, take this time and just, what can you do to level up your pre-trip?
Absolutely.
What could you do to say, hey, I haven't done this, but I'm going to do this now. And see if you see it in your paycheck, right? If that driver does that extra 5-minute walk around twice a day, let's, see what he thinks when his truck or her truck is not broke down and they're consistently moving.
Absolutely. Staying on top of it and knowing your intervals too. Maybe with our oil changes and our greases, we're adding things into that. So we're pushing to get our oil changes done at our terminals just because we are staying on top of maintenance items, preventative maintenance items. Maybe we're changing out some shocks or airbags or replacing wiper blades. Some challenges definitely can be the negative attitudes or the different personalities that, we have coming across the phones. But at the same time, you have to take it kind of as a grain of salt because they're calling us at a really poor time. I mean, they're broke down, they're not moving, they're not making money. So it's just a matter of, understanding that, hey, they're not mad at you necessarily, they're just mad at the situation. So I think that's a challenge of just navigating that and getting used to that. 9 times out of 10, it could very well be that's how your conversation's going to go. Yeah. But, you joke around with them, talk to them.
Make light of the situation.
And by the end of the repair, they're happy. They're happy to get going and thankful, that we got them moving. Sometimes it might not be that, but that's okay. Everybody's different. There's a lot of drivers, a lot of different personalities. So that definitely is probably one of the biggest challenges, other than, just a breakdown in general.
Yeah,
but
well, it makes sense. Like you said, it's a tough, challenging time for anyone in that situation, especially if you're on the side of the road or there's a delivery appointment or a home time appointment that is in the middle on the other side of that breakdown. So makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to tell the drivers the best way to get a hold of you or your fleet team, what is it?
218-624-3535, option 4.
No, it's good to know. Somebody
fleet.
might not know.
Or fleet@kiwibros.com is in our email that you can send anything and everything you want for pictures or a note or just breakdowns, things like that. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's always someone here to chat with you about what's the situation.
Awesome. Well, Holly, you and your team do an amazing job. Our trucks would not be running if it weren't for your team. So I want to say thank you for that. And it was great having you on. And I look forward to talking more with you and Michael and the whole fleet team, because there's just so many facets to this industry that we need to learn about.
Thanks for having me on, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Keep Trucking Personal. If you've enjoyed today's episode, do not forget to like, share, or comment. I also want to add that we just put our podcast up on YouTube. So if YouTube is a platform that you use, we are there now. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please reach out to us at podcast@kiwibros.com. Until next time, happy trucking.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Keep Trucking Personal. We appreciate you taking the time to explore the heart and soul of Kiwi Brothers Trucking with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Tune in next time as we continue our journey together, diving deeper into what makes us a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those who aspire to be part of something truly extraordinary. Until then, keep trucking, and we'll catch you on the next episode.